It's gonna be hard to top what we did in the last Let's Go Trophy Hunting video, an albino pheasant. Something I've wanted for so many years, and that wasn't the only trophy of the hunt. We also had a piebald wild boar and a 1000 plus wild boar, which is the inspiration for this hunt. We shot this guy through the skull, and I had no idea at the time that it actually shows up on the skull mounts where you actually make the shot. So what I really want to know today, if we shoot a trophy Roosevelt elk with a bow in the skull, what does that look like in the trophy lodge? So hopefully we can kind of kill two birds with one stone, do a little bit of very scientific investigation, and also add to our trophy lodge. And it's looking like right off the bat, we're gonna have a bit of an interesting situation. Couple of bull elk coming in, but a cow right under our stand here. So I think we're gonna have to take this guy. Little over 20 meters, but should be doable. How did that not spook her? So we have the 45-70 Buffalo rifle. I kind of think we might just smoke that other bull real quick. For one, we only have one round in this box of ammo, and of course, they're gonna take off. Oh, we hit him. Actually, we hit him okay. That should get him. And we kind of just got a little bonus elk there, I believe. I love this gun, and pretty much the only drawback to it is the fact that it's a single shot. And luckily, we managed to land that shot. So first one, double lung at 22 meters, 453 kg is pretty decent weight, and a 182 score for him. And then hopefully this other one went down. I can't imagine it would survive a 45-70 shot. And indeed, that was enough to bring him down. So two bulls in that same size range, way lower weight on this, 156 for him. Not exactly ones we're going to try to do skull mounts of, but good to take both those out so we're not getting bugles or anything from them later. And it definitely feels like that decision to use the 45-70 Buffalo worked out in our favor. We've only gone a couple hundred meters, and we've got another bull and potentially a herd on that side. That's a rediscovered trail, so that cow was with the bulls that we already shot, but at least this guy came right in. Another probably mid-100s kind of score, 188 for him. I think that does make him our biggest one. 3 bulls in under 15 minutes is never a bad deal. And we'll just keep on moving up through here. Hopefully, eventually, one's about twice that big. Now, that's a little more like it. That is a 315 to 360 estimate bull. And it might just fall into that range of what we're looking for. Weirdly enough, I think the call just ran out because he went to feed there. But we'll try to bring him in. And hopefully, we can kind of climb up on this rock and try to make a shot through the head with the bow. There's a chance this ends up going really bad. It will, as long as we hit him, it will bring him down. But we may have a 20-minute track if we don't hit the brain. I do like that we've got this little added bit of elevation, but we also need to make sure he's going to stop. So, going to get to full draw. Hopefully he'll stop for just a second. We're just going to keep this ready. Perfect, right between the eyes. I really want to know what this is going to look like. So, at some point we may swing back by a lodge before this hunt's over. But I do think despite the one short time there, we ought to be looking at a 330 or 340 bull. Right through the brain at 11 meters, 322 actually. Little lower than I thought. That deduction probably cost him. I think we're going to go for it anyway, just because the shot was what we wanted. Let's go with the mounted skull. And at some point we'll swing back through and see what it looks like. If it actually ends up looking really cool, probably the goal for the rest of the hunt will be to do that again if we can find a big one. If not, we'll go to regular shots. And actually, I think this may work out just perfectly to go and visit that elk in the lodge. We've got probably a 160s blacktail here. And just because there's a bunch of does, we'll go with the 308. Plus, we get to actually fire all weapons in our inventory already. That'll bring him down. It'll spook everything, and I actually do want to go back towards the lodge. We went kind of up along the road all the way to the second tower, and actually a little bit beyond it to get our 322. That was right in that area. I want to go back around and all the way up north through the mountains, so should work out to go and check on that and go in the direction we want to. Little 166, actually that's a pretty decent one. I would say well above average for that rack. Just happens to be our 25th 308 Highwayman harvest, and let's go and see what that actually looks like in the lodge. So this is our 322, and I just put them here real quick so we could actually look at the entry hole, and I don't see any obvious like blade marks from the broadhead, so I think they go with the general bullet hole design regardless. Therefore, probably we won't be trying to shoot every decent elk we see in the head, but still pretty cool to get another one. It will kind of balance out this side over here We've got one too few elk skulls, so it'll be nice to have one on that far end. And we'll continue hunting, see if we can get a couple more. So once again, we've got one of these scenarios where we've got a cow elk sneaking in and a bull. And this guy's just a little bit smaller. The one that we were looking at back there at the lodge. I think we're going to have to go 4570 buffalo. That cow's going to spook if we stand up to shoot. So, not one that I'd like to use a gun on. But we are just kind of getting back around to start making our way north up through the mountains. I think it'll be okay to do that and spook what else is in the area, but would have liked to have done so silently. Gonna be pretty much shooting through every organ for an 85 scoring bull. But at least we got him. And we can really only go up from there, I would imagine. You know, this seems to be a trend throughout this hunt. For one, I think this is still upwards from the last bull, but also we're running into these groups of elk with only 1 or 2 animals in it, and it seems odd. Typically you find like 5. I think that cow's gonna spook, so gonna drop that shot in there. How in the world? Again, it seemed like she just hung around for a minute. And we do have another cow calling back there, so maybe? Nah, that can't be the same group. We'll still call in case there's a bull in there, but if we could find a couple of groups of 5 elk, I feel like we'd be in a much better position. But continually, it's solo bulls, which I mean, we did get our 322 as a solo, or 2 or 3 elk. Either way, neck bone, lung, and liver, not what I thought happened. 89 score, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the last one was 85, so I guess it was only up from there, though barely. We finally have another decent bull. This has been an absolute slog. Those first couple of bulls really early on kind of got us going, and since then it's been a struggle just to find any above like 100 inches. This guy should go 300. Those back tines are decent enough. This short tine is definitely going to hurt him, and I don't think he's quite of the quality to do a skull mount, but we're going to try to line this up. The rain is starting to die down, so the wind should be as well. I think we may have been just a touch low. What I was hoping for was if there was another bull with this group, because I think this might be a group of 5, maybe we could have kept them from spooking. Did he, if I'm not mistaken, he ran out there a little bit and then actually dropped? Must have been lung and liver. So close to actually dropping him in his tracks and potentially having that result, but any bulls that were back there would have spooked. And we'll just try to check on tracks. And actually, it's looking like this may have been another group of 3 elk. It just happens so infrequently, but today, it's just about every single time. As for this guy, lung and liver indeed at 28 meters, 320. He's actually about the same size as the one that we got. Do we just make that skull mount and go from there? I really don't want to set the precedent for Roosevelt skull mounts at 320. I think we should go for more like 340. The reason that we did the one that we got earlier, obviously, was to check the arrow thing, so I think we'll have a higher standard than that. Even though I'd like to fill all those spots, there's still 8 or 9 more. I think we can do better than that. I was wondering why that buck didn't come in and just kind of curled up and went to sleep right here, 65 to 90, which unfortunately might still top some of the elk that we've been encountering, but just gonna try to take this guy out as he's laying there. I want to clear that skull. That's just gonna drop him, and I think we'll drop down here into the swamp, see if we can see anything else. Sometimes, especially later in hunts, and we are 2 hours and 48 minutes into this hunt, you will get elk moving like a lot out of their kind of primary habitat, and I could definitely see them getting down there into the swamp this far into the hunt. We actually shot through the ear and double lunged him. Score of 78, so at least I think he's smaller than every elk we've actually harvested today. But let's see if there's bear, elk, blacktail, anything like that out there. Obviously, the nice thing with Let's Go Trophy Hunting now, literally any species is on the table for things that we want to add to that lodge and upgrade, not just elk and skulls and stuff like that. Best I can tell, this swamp is pretty much barren right now. I don't see anything out here other than, no pun intended, one black bear. So we do get to use the 4570 buffalo again, which is always an opportunity we'll take. I think because of the grass, we're going to have to crouch forward at this shot. And again with bears, gotta keep that shot way up tight to the shoulder, otherwise you're looking at an intestine shot. Their hitboxes are pretty odd, but definitely not a bad hunt. 2 300 plus bulls, got a 166 blacktail that was very solid, and you know, I think we probably used up a lot of our luck for a while in that last hunt. 1,000 plus wild boar, a piebald wild boar, and an albino pheasant, all 3 main lodge additions. The albino pheasant's never going anywhere, nothing is going to replace that. But we get to add to our kind of array of skull mounts, and I do want to move that actually from where we put it to examine the entry wound. So we'll go back to the lodge and kind of see what it looks like with everything placed properly. And just quickly before we do that, our black bear, I think it was decent size, 163 kilo and a 17 score, gives us 60 GM as a little bonus. And we'll jump back to the lodge and take a look at the lodge in its correct form. So we actually had to jump into single player. I couldn't get the lodge to update, regardless of how many times I did it in the menu, but finally, we have a little bit more balance adding our 322 to this wall over here. I still wish we had a little bit more of like the blade marks, but I think that's pretty cool. And you can see we've got the 4 down this side. It's only 3 down this side, but it's a shorter kind of area. So it just kind of balances out a little bit more. And like I said, I think 340-ish, at least for starters, is going to be the mark for what we want to do as skull mounts in the future. And there's still, I counted them, 9 spots to fill. So plenty of room for that and plenty of room for improvement based on what we got today. But I love this lodge. It is so cool. I love the skull mount ideas. I really think that adds to it. And I can't wait to actually get those 9 spots filled. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video. So as always, thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you next time.